Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Reading today from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, chapter 5, the glories of Lord Nityananda Balaram, text number 35, which is actually a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th canto. Kama dveshad payat snehad
Kama dveshad vayas snehad
ita bhakyeshvare manaha aveshya tad agham hitva bhavas tad gatin gataha kama dveshad payat snehad yata bhakyeshvare manaha aveshya tad agham hitva bhavas tad gatin gataha kama dveshad payat snehad yata bhakyeshvare manaha aveshya tad agham hitva bhavas tad gatin gataha. Chant please.
Kama dveshad payat snehad
Kama dveshad
Yata
vayas snehad
Yata bhakyeshvare manaha aveshya tadagham hitva bhavas tad gatin gataha. Tasmat dveshad payat snehad yata bhakyeshvare manaha aveshya tadagham hitva bhavas tad gatin gataha. Kama dveshad payat snehad yata bhakyeshvare manaha aveshya tadagham hitva bhavas tad gatin gataha. Anyone else? Kamat, influenced by lusty desire.
Influenced by lusty desire.
Dveshat,
Dveshad
by envy.
by envy.
Bayat,
Bhayat
by fear.
by fear.
Snehat,
Snehat
or by affection.
or by affection.
Yata, as. Bhaktya,
Bhaktya
by devotion.
by devotion.
Ishvare, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
In the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Manaha,
Mana,
the mind.
mind.
Aveshya,
Aveshya,
fully absorbing.
fully absorbing.
Tat,
Tat,
that.
that.
Agaham,
Agaham,
sinful activity.
sinful activity.
Hitva, giving up.
Giving up.
Bhava,
Bhava,
many.
many.
Tat,
Tat,
that.
that.
Gatim,
Gatim,
destination.
destination.
Gataha, achieved. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. As through devotion to the Lord one can attain his abode, many have attained that goal by abandoning their sinful activities and absorbing their minds in the Lord through lust, envy, fear, or affection. Purport. As the powerful sun, by its glowing rays, can purify all kinds of impurities, so the all-spiritual personality of Godhead can purify all material qualities in a person he attracts. Even if one is attracted by Godhead in the mode of material lust, such attraction is converted into spiritual love of Godhead by His grace. Similarly, if one is related to the Lord in fear and animosity, he also becomes purified by the spiritual attraction of the Lord. Although God is great and the living entity small, they are spiritual individuals, and therefore, as soon as there is a reciprocal exchange by the living entity's free will, at once the great spiritual being attracts the small living entity, thus freeing him from all material bondage. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 7:130, which I'll read now. Many persons have attained liberation simply by thinking of Krishna with great attention and giving up sinful activities. This great attention may be due to lusty desires, inimical feelings, fear, affection, or devotional service. I shall now explain how one receives Krishna's mercy simply by concentrating one's mind upon Him. That's 7:130, Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Gyandimirandasya Gnanjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Lidangena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapidam Yena Bhutale Swayam Upakaramayam Dadati Svavadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagijatam Sahagana Raghunatam Mitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijanai Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shivashakanvitangscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanshakavarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patijanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. As through devotion to the Lord one can attain His abode, many have attained that goal by abandoning their sinful activities and absorbing their minds in the Lord through lust, envy, fear, or affection. So this is a very interesting verse, very nice verse, because I'm not even sure who's speaking here. The point is that one does not have to be pure in order to approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One does not have to be pure to engage in His service. If that were the case, then there would be absolutely no opportunity for devotional service for anyone in the material world, because we're all contaminated by our sins, by the reactions to our sins, and by the material desires in the core of our heart. If purity were a requisite, there would be no devotional activities going on within this world by the conditioned souls. It would only be done by the liberated souls, or those who already have a taste for the message and the service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But then what would happen to us? What would be the fate of the conditioned souls who are steeped in material enjoyment? What would be our fate? It would simply be that we would continue to rot in the material existence. But no parent wants to see their child suffering. And Krishna, as the Ahambija Pradapita, as the seed-giving father of all living entities and all species, he also does not want to see his children suffer. Or more appropriately, because he does not want to see his children suffering, therefore in all the species of life, that same predilection is prevalent, that the parents want to provide for their offspring. They want to make sure that they are properly trained. We even see with the animals. You know, the deer, they take care after their offspring. The offspring, they follow the mom, and she shows them where to eat, what to eat, this, that, like that. She takes care of them, protects them, until the fawn is old enough to go out on his own. So this tendency, this so-called natural tendency, is prevalent because it's prevalent in Krishna. Everything material comes from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything material. Even just like we can say that darkness is a function of the sun. Because the natural condition is sunlight, but in the absence of sunlight, then you have darkness. But darkness is not the natural condition. The natural condition is for the sunlight, because from the sun, all life is able to take place, to function, to develop and grow, and so on and so forth. And Prabhupada uses the example of the sun in the purport. As the powerful sun by its glowing rays can purify all kinds of impurities, so the all-spiritual personality of Godhead can purify all material qualities in the person he attracts. Now, why does Srila Prabhupada put those two words in the end, that he attracts? Why doesn't he just stop with the Supreme Personality of Godhead can purify all material qualities in a person? Why does he put those two words in the end, that he attracts? In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains to Arjuna that I'm not partial to anybody. I don't envy anyone. I'm equal to all. So how is it that Srila Prabhupada writes in this very first sentence that the Lord purifies all kinds of impurities from the conditioned souls that he attracts? Any reflections on this?
Because if they're not attracted, they don't get any benefit?
There's the microphone there.
Because if they don't approach it, if they're not attracted, they don't receive the benefit of the Lord's benediction of purification?
Yes. That's a good one. Anyone else?
Because Krishna really wants much more to come to him. I mean, his desire that we come back to him is much stronger than our desire. And also he makes 100 steps and we make one step. So he's the one who's kind of pulling us towards him more than we even want.
So why is it that if he says in Bhagavad Gita that I'm impartial?
He's impartial only in his Paramatma feature, but he's partial in his Shyamasundara feature. That's partial. He's impartial. He's not he's impartial. That's the distinction.
That's cheating a little bit. Any other reflections? Kripa Maya Prabhu?
I've also heard it said that Krishna, there's two ways to advance Krishna. There's two things we need on the path of bhakti. Krishna's mercy and personal endeavor. So when you say the word he attracts, it denotes as a connotation of reciprocation going on. There's simultaneously the Lord is attracting the conditioned soul, but the conditioned soul has to allow himself to be attracted.
So which comes first?
Does it have to be that way? Can it be simultaneous?
I'm sorry?
Can it be simultaneous?
Yes, yes, it could. But then why isn't everyone attracted?
Because they have free will.
And that's a good answer. They have free will. You gave 2 points there, and they were both excellent. But it's the second one that I'm looking for that you made, that the living entity has to show some desire to approach the Lord. And as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, and in this particular verse, that it doesn't, we can be really sinful, we can have so many material desires in our heart. Lust, envy, fear, or affection. And even with those in our heart, if we approach Krishna, then he reciprocates and he will purify these desires within our heart through the process of devotional service. I don't remember where, but Srila Prabhupada writes that by the performance of I'm paraphrasing, by the performance of devotional service, the subtle body of the living entity dissolves. Like melts, like ice, just melting. It's just, the subtle body dissolves. And what do we mean by a subtle body? The thinking that I'm a man, I'm a human being, I'm a woman, I'm a this, I'm a that. These are all the upadis, the material designations, the hats we wear. I'm a temple president, I'm a CEO, I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a mother, I'm a dog, I'm a deer, like this. All these material designations. Srila Prabhupada says that simply by the process of devotional service, all of these material designations, the upadis, they just dissolve, just melt away. So Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy in the purport of the sun. He says the powerful sun, by its glowing rays, can purify all kinds of impurities. How does it do that? How does the sun purify things?
By heat.
By heat. By the removal of the water from something, what happens then? When it's completely dry, it just disintegrates, turns into dust, it gives up its former form, its previous form, by the application of heat, which causes the water to disperse, to evaporate. What are the 5 gross elements? Earth, water, fire, air, ether. And they're created in a descending order. From ether comes air, from air comes fire, from fire comes water, from water comes earth. And if you remove the preceding one, the latter one cannot exist. So by the sun's heat, which is contained which is carried in the rays of sunlight, it purifies all different types of things. So Prabhupada is giving the analogy. So the all-spiritual personality of God can purify all material qualities in a person he attracts. Even if one is attracted by God in the mode of material lust, such attraction is converted into spiritual love of Godhead by His grace. Similarly, if one is related to the Lord in fear and animosity, he also becomes purified by the spiritual attraction of the Lord. Although God is great and the living entity small, they are spiritual individuals, and therefore, as soon as there is a reciprocal exchange by the living entity's free will, which I think Madhuri said about the free will of the living entity, at once the great spiritual being attracts the small living entity, thus freeing him from all material bondage. This is a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 7.130. Many persons have attained liberation simply by thinking of Krishna with great attention and giving up sinful activities. This great attention may be due to lusty desires, inimical feelings, fear, affection, or devotional service. I shall now explain how one receives Krishna's mercy simply by concentrating one's mind on him. My dear King Yudhishthira, the gopis by their lusty desires, Kamsa by his fear, Shishupal and other kings by envy, the Yadus by their familial relationship with Krishna, you, the Pandavas, by your great affection for Krishna, and we, the general devotees, by our devotional service, have obtained the mercy of Krishna. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. Then, by one of the 5 different processes mentioned above, one can return home back to Godhead. Atheists like King Vena, however, being unable to think of Krishna's form in any of these 5 ways, cannot attain salvation. Therefore, one must somehow or other think of Krishna, whether in a friendly way or inimically. So it's very interesting that it doesn't matter the reason why we approach Krishna. In fact, what does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? That 7:16, he says, O best among the Bharatas, 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service unto me. The distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. But what's the one qualification in that verse? Pious. 4 kinds of pious men begin to render devotional service to me. And it's simply by that service that attracts the attention of the Lord. And then begins a reciprocal relationship that we serve the Lord accepts that service and encourages us. He sees a little tiny spark of attraction, and he fans that, he feeds it, so that eventually it will turn into a blazing fire. And that blazing fire of devotional service will purify us of all of our sinful activities, the sinful reaction, of all of our material desires, whatever they may be. All the material designations, sarvapati, they'll be eliminated, they'll be washed away by the process of devotional service. So who are some personalities who have gained purification through either lust, fear, envy, or affection? Bonnie's got her hand up.
You read it.
So, what did you hear?
Gopis.
Gopis for what?
For the lust. But it wasn't material lust, so I don't know.
Who's an example of material lust?
Kubja.
Who?
Kubja.
Kubja. And what does she do?
What do you...
What were the circumstances? What's the pastime around Kubja? Who's the microphone? Group Maipur, are you familiar with that pastime?
Kubja, she made oil for Kamsa. And,
What kind of oil?
oil for his body.
Yeah, fragrant oil.
It was the best oil. Kamsa loved that oil. And when she saw Krishna, she wanted to offer it to Krishna.
Why?
Because she was just so attracted to him.
She said, no one is more deserving of this than you. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So she had a deformed body. She was a hunchback. And Krishna, she was attracted to Krishna in a lusty way. She wanted to enjoy conjugal lust. And Krishna purified her. Purified her the desire, but also, he lifted her up, like the original chiropractor. And he straightened her up, and she became a beautiful devotee.
When she saw him in public, she started pulling on his dhoti. This is a strong, lusty desire. And Kupji became purified. I forget what, in the 10th canto, what her name is. But it means that she was bent in 3 places. Bent in, I think, the neck, the hips, and the back, something like that. And like you just described, Krishna stepped on her feet to hold them down and put his hands on her head and jerked it upwards. And not only did he immediately crack her joints, straighten her up, but he also made her extraordinarily beautiful. Just to show that it doesn't matter the basis for which you approach me, that you won't be the loser. And she also smeared that very fragrant oil on the bodies of Krishna and Balaram. Because she said, there's nobody more deserving of this than you two. Fear. Who's an example of fear?
Shishupal.
No. Shishupal is envy. Kamsa. Was he Krishna conscious? Was he properly Krishna conscious? No. Why not?
You got to be favorable. You have to be favorable to the Lord.
Exactly. And what is the verse by Rupa? I think it's by Rupa Goswami. The devotional service has to be performed favorably. Not just that Kamsa, he was always meditating on Krishna 24/7. But as Bhakta Brelan said, it wasn't in a favorable mood. What was Kamsa's mood towards Krishna? He wanted to kill him. Always thinking about him, fully Krishna conscious, but his consciousness wasn't favorable, was unfavorable. Envy, Madhuri. Shishupal. And how did he manifest that envy?
He's making insults.
Oh, he was, finding the faults in Krishna.
Oh yeah, use the microphone there.
He was criticizing.
He was what?
Criticizing. Finding fault.
That was a part of it. I don't remember where I read it, but it's stated that Shishupal was, it's in the next verse, extraordinarily opulent. Let me find it in the purport here. When killed by the hands of Ravana, therefore, he got the privilege of taking birth as Shishupal, who had such immense opulence that he could think of himself a competitor to Krishna on the basis of opulence. Although Shishupal was always envious of Krishna, he frequently uttered the name of Krishna and always thought of the beautiful features of Krishna. Thus, by constantly thinking and chanting of Krishna, even unfavorably, he was cleansed of the contamination of his sinful activities. When Shishupal was killed by the Sudarshan Chakra of Krishna as an enemy, his constant remembrance of Krishna dissolved the reactions of his vices, and he attained salvation by becoming one with the body of the Lord. One of the 5 different types of liberation. Just extraordinarily opulent, so much material opulence that he considered that I'm equal. No, I'm not equal, I'm superior. And then what was the pastime that he performed? He dressed himself in 4 arms.
That's Pandraka.
Oh, that's Pandraka. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And affection, we all know the example of affection, that's the gopis. So there's a couple of verses in Bhagavad Gita. 4:10, Vitaraga bhaya krodha maya mama pasrita bahavo jnana tapasa putamad bhavamagata. being freed from attachment, fear, and anger, being fully absorbed in me and taking refuge in me, many, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained transcendental love for me. So there is a couple of words here that completely coincide with one of the verses that I read earlier from 7th Canto, 1st chapter, I think it's verse 32. Being fully absorbed in me. That was also stated as a requisite for becoming an eternal servant, an associate of the Lord. How to receive Krishna's mercy. Let me find it again. Somehow or other, one must consider the form of Krishna very seriously. In other words, meditate on it constantly. And it's not just the form of the Lord, but his name, his activities, his entourage, his paraphernalia, anything in direct association with the Lord. If we meditate on it fully and deeply, become completely absorbed in it, then we're perfectly qualified to receive the Lord's mercy. So I'll reread today's verse. As through devotion to the Lord one can attain his abode, many have attained that goal by abandoning their sinful activities and absorbing their mind in the Lord through lust, envy, fear, or affection. So two things. We have to give up our sinful activities, because if one continues to commit sin, it's not possible to meditate fully upon the Lord or his pastimes. And thus when we stop our sinful activities, we absorb our mind in the Lord. And it doesn't matter the venue. It could be lust, envy, fear, affection, like that. We can attract the mercy of the Lord. And how does that come? How does the Lord's mercy come? But he reciprocates with us. We engage in some service, even attraction for the Lord is service. And he fans that and he encourages us. And then we have to do our part, and the Lord will do his part in return. So I'll stop there. Anybody have any questions, comments, corrections? Kripamaya Prabhu.
Prabhu, is the form of Krishna and the name of Krishna the same?
Yes or no? Krishna is present in his names. He's personally present, but at the same time the name is different from the Lord in the sense that you can approach the Lord through his name. So it's one of those Achincha Beta Beta things. Madhuri, you have any realization on that?
Oh, I just only did the very normal fact that Krishna, that through his name, Krishna reveals that.
Speak into the microphone.
When we chant the holy name, the Guna, that Guna, Rupa. So first, am I saying it right? First is the Guna, that the holy name reveals the qualities of Krishna. Then Rupa reveals the form of Krishna. And Lila that reveals
the activities.
So, am I saying it right? Correct sentence? Correct order? So,
Hare Krishna. Permit me to say this?
Yes, please.
In contradiction to what you mentioned.
No, it's called correction.
The holy name is yes and no. I think we should never say no. It's always.
That's why I said yes and no simultaneously.
That there is a slight distinction between the understanding of the holy name in the Gaudiya Sampradaya and say, for example, in the Madhva Sampradaya. In the Madhva Sampradaya, although we belong to the Madhva Sampradaya, in the Madhva Sampradaya, for example, the deity They believe the deity, the Lord is located in the deity. Whereas we don't believe that Lord is located in the Lord is the deity himself. Non-different.
Yeah.
Similarly, abhinnatvat nama namini. The Lord is not in his name. The Lord is his name. That is why we are able to directly have the spiritual association of the holy name and purify ourselves. It is, in fact, the name of the Lord is more fundamental than his other features, like Mother Madhuri was referring to about Guna, Rupa, Leela. The name manifests the Gunas, Rupa and the Leela in sequence. So therefore, the holy name of the Lord is even more potent than his other features, because his other features are revealed only
Through.
more advanced devotees, but the holy name is the most merciful form of the Lord. It's the Lord himself. There is absolutely, Prabhupada uses the word many places, identical. There is a achintya Veda with regard to many features of reality, but with regard to the holy name, there is really no achintya Veda. It is abheda. It is absolutely identical.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No, thank you. We're here to learn. Kripamaya Baru.
No, I appreciate what both of you said about one name. I think it just also raises an interesting, discussion, which we could go on for days about. That actually there is distinction. There's simultaneous distinction, sameness, and difference. There's difference in terms of functionality, and it's based on what you're saying. For the sake of the living entity, that you were saying, the name. From the name you get Guna, Rupa, Leela. And so the name is most merciful, of those different features. So in terms of functionality, in essence, this is my takeaway from the class. In terms of essence, there's no difference between the name. Once we're purified, we will experience the form and the name simultaneously, because it's because of our condition we don't perceive them as the same. But in terms of functionality for us to get purified, the name has that special feature.
It's the mercy. I would use more the word. It's like
the mercy.
That's what Prabhupada said. It's the Krishna. Krishna reveals himself through the name. Right. Not
There is one nice song in Kannada by Purandaradas. He is in the Mantra Sampradaya. He says,
what's his name?
Ninyako, Purandaradas. He says, Ninyako nina hangyako, nina namada balavandidaresa. He says, why do I need you? I don't need you. I don't need your presence.
You means who? When he says, why do I need you? The deity?
Addressing Krishna. He's
Okay.
addressing the Lord. He says, I don't need you. I don't need your presence. Only the potency of your name is sufficient for me. I don't need
Haribo.
Ninyako, nina hangyako, nina namada bala vandidaresa. It's enough for me, your name. I don't need you. He says.
Okay, so I want to pose a question for you all, which is, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has stated that the material sound of the Lord's name is different from the Lord's name. And he gives the analogy of a empty capsule, like for medicine. You have the capsule, you open it up, you put in, your vitamin C or whatever, you close it. And it's only when we develop a certain level of purity that the Lord agrees to enter into that capsule, into that material sound vibration of Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada spoke to that concept, I think it was in his introduction to the record album, where he says that one must receive the holy name of the Lord from a pure devotee of the Lord. And he gives the analogy of milk touched by the lips of a serpent that causes poisonous effect. So that kind of ties into the statement of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur that we can't, when we speak of the holy name of Krishna, we are referring to in its purest state. We're not necessarily referring to how a non-devotee or a neophyte devotee, how we chant it. Especially for a non-devotee, milk touched by the lips of a serpent cause poisonous effect. So we have to receive the name through the proper channels, and then when we are a proper recipient, then the Lord agrees to reveal himself through that sound vibration. Is that correct understanding, Mahasundar Guru?
It's a nice debate. It's not that the Lord does not agree to come when we have the proper purity or whatever. I would say the holy name agrees.
But 3 minutes ago you said the holy name is not different.
It says Swayameva, the Nama, it's a Nama Chintamani Krishna, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. It calls, the Padma Puran says Nama Chintamani. The name itself has the capability to transform the individual. So Nama Chintamani Krishna, Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. His Nama is Chintamani and it is Krishna only, identical, absolutely. It is not. It doesn't say the Krishna's name. Krishnasya Nama, it is not used. The word used is Nama Chintamani. It starts up with Nama. Nama Chintamani Krishna. Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha. Nitya Mukto Purna Shuddho. Abhinnatvad Nama Namino. It's only Abhinna or Abheda which is described in the Shastra as far as the holy name is concerned. This Achintya Veda Tattva, when it goes to the core Tattva, it is all Abheda. That means Krishna is non-different from his form, name, everything is all Krishna. And there is Krishna's name is Krishna's form. It's just different features how he manifests to us. Initially, he manifests in his most merciful form as the name. He doesn't consider our qualification. And after manifesting as the name, he himself creates the purity in us if we continuously chant. And when we do that continuous association with the Lord in his feature as the holy name, then he graduates us. It is the further stages of realizing of the Lord's intimate features that we actually need our purification. But for the impure, the Lord is available in his form as the holy name. So it is absolutely Abhinna.
And you, thank you so much. Kripa Maya Guru?
Next question. This understanding of Achintya Veda Tattva, is that found in any other religious tradition or spiritual tradition of the world? Is that something that's unique to Gaudiya Vaishnavism? I mean, is it there in any other sampradaya? It seems to be totally from, I don't know.
Actually, in some of the works of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, obviously Achintya Veda Tattva is our philosophy, so therefore it is not there anywhere else. Otherwise we wouldn't call it as our philosophy. That's Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. But actually the only philosophy is Achintya Veda Tattva. But if you partially understand Achintya Veda Tattva, it becomes Advaita. If you partially understand Achintya Veda Tattva, it becomes Dvaita. If you try to understand its ultimate reality, which is by the word Achintya, it is inconceivable. It's not, there is another Veda Tattva. In Bharkacharya, they have Veda Tattva. There is a conceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference, and then there is an inconceivable, simultaneous oneness and difference. One can think, oh, it's identical like this. If you are able to conceive it, That is not Achintya Veda.
So what's Veda Tattva?
Achintya Veda Tattva
What's
is a simultaneous oneness and difference which is inconceivable. We cannot understand how it is. Logically, we cannot understand it.
So what is Veda Tattva?
Veda Tattva is simultaneously one and different.
Oh, but something which we can understand.
Something which you can think you can understand.
The other,
Advaita is, things are not different, everything is one. That is Advaita.
Oh, that's Advaita.
Everything is different, is Dvaita, which is Madhvacharya's thing.
Right.
Yes. But the Achintya Veda Tattva leans more towards the Veda of Sripad Madhvacharya than towards the Veda or the Advaita of Shankaracharya. It's more towards this side.
More than I can handle.
It's a little complex.
Yes, it's above my pay grade.
Bhaktivinoda Thakur has nicely explained, I think, in Dashamula Tattva, Chaiva Dharma, this aspect, so very nicely explained. The Veda, as far as the Jiva is concerned, the Veda is more prominent than the Abheda. For example, one of the Advaitas, he also has this, he admits that Advaita is an Advaita, means he is a person who is promoting the identity of the Jiva and the soul. But he was a kind of devotee of Krishna, Madhusudana Saraswati. He's pretty famous, and there are many places, even Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Bhagavad Gita commentary, he quotes from Madhusudana Saraswati. Just like Sridhar Swami is also supposed to be more leaning to the Advaita, but still we quote him in all our scriptures. So Madhusudana Saraswati says that although it is true that the Lord and the Jiva are identical, it's more beautiful to have the Lord as different from the Lord and the Jiva than it is to think that he is identical. I cannot remember the nice sloka he uses. So he also admits ultimately it's the Veda which is practical and beautiful, although he is an Advaita. So, but ours is, we have put on that in order to put a stop to all debates. With Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by affixing, or Jiva Goswami by affixing Achintya, he is telling us to get practical. Stop this endless debate, because philosophical debates can go on endlessly. You will never reach an end. You have to come to a full stop. You have to get into the practicality of realization. And that realization is through love. And in love, you cannot have love without there being two entities, the lover and the beloved. So therefore, but love is the quality or the principle which unites them. So the unity of love is different from the unity of physical unity in terms of I am same as the Lord. In love, one dissolves the identity in the other out of love. That means you so much think of the beloved, or the beloved so much thinks of the lover, that they forget their own identity. They don't even realize their, what you call their own self-identity. They are thinking so much, like Srimati Radharani, so much thinking of Krishna, she doesn't think of herself even for a second. It's a waste of time for her.
If I don't cook for Krishna, he'll be hungry. Mother Yasoda thinks, if I don't cook for Krishna, he'll go hungry.
Yes. So much is the absorption. They have no absorption in themselves.
Yeah.
They have absorption in the other. So that absorption in the other creates a kind of unity which is not the ontological unity, but it is a
purpose.
It's the emotional unity.
Yeah.
It is Bhava Advaita. Means the Advaita in Bhava. Like Prabhupada says, unity of interest.
Yeah.
Not unity of physically, I mean, transforming one to the other. Which is Advaita says, Advaita is physical unity.
But that is,
spiritual unity.
That is one of the types of liberation, to satisfy those who are so inclined.
Yes, Brahma side,
Yeah.
Ishvara side.
Yeah. Haribo. Thank you all very much for your attention and participation. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Grace Gaura Shakti Prabhu ki jai.